Alright guys, so here's my 25-gallon planted fish tank. It has a 7-layer overhead sump followed by a heater, CO2 injected air pump, and water circulator. It is home to 22 little neon tetras, 1 cardinal tetra, and 1 algae eater, and at least 3 dozen trumpet snails. So, I'm going to start off with the basics. It's a 25-gallon, originally rimmed tank from Petco or PetSmart, whichever one. They kind of have the same tanks. But I de-rimmed the top. It used to have this black plastic at the bottom. I ended up de-rimming it. I kind of messed up in a few spots, but nothing, crazy. I actually think that was from me moving the fish tank light around. But anyways, I'm gonna get to the basics. It's full of Amazon sword, wisteria, mini swords, a whole other ball game of fish plants or aquarium plants. But I'm gonna start off with the filter. So the filter is probably the most important part of this tank and the most awesome part, if you ask me. It is a 160 gallon per hour fish tank pump, and it comes out of the bottom. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a clear tube that runs all the way down and then swivels up like a J and comes out of this faucet. Now all this looks kind of gross, but this is all beneficial bacteria that the fish really need and the water really needs to kind of strive. So I have media filter media right here. It's pretty soft. I even have trumpet snails up in here that kind of dig their way through out and about. They kind of keep the algae down a lot. And then up in here I have media spheres, media filter sponges with rocks holding both of those layers down, more media filter, and then I have the media hex cubes down in there to kind of help promote the beneficial bacteria. Then over in this little section I have a semi-aquatic plant. Forget the exact name of it. It has carbon pellets and pebbles in there to help it kind of root itself. And then in the last little area over here, the drain out, we have a little bit of everything. We have a little bit of carbon, a little bit of rocks, whatever helps it strive. So the way this sump works is the water goes, it's kind of hard to see, I apologize for that, but the water goes right here, it flows down, up, down, and then it completely filters all the water. So the water is touching every inch except for the overflow right here that is immediately recycled back into the pump up and over. So it kind of works out in the pump's favor and the filter. So if you come up over here, you'll see I have a CO2 injection and a water circulator way kind of back hiding behind there. See it right there? And then I have a heater right there where that red dot is the water heater. It keeps it at a constant 75-77 degrees in here. But the water circulator is right next to the air bubble pump. So what that does is it's going to cycle a little bit of oxygen in, but it's also going to force the CO2 to circulate. And if you get right here, I have a 4.5 inch CO2 diffuser that goes up, and then once the circulation hits it, it forces it all north. So look right here and follow the bubbles. The bubbles go all down here, all over to the wisteria, the mini swords, and then the Java fern, all that right here. So the plants are getting plenty of CO2 and plenty of light, and which is very beneficial, because without circulation, the CO2 is just going to float straight to the top and then dissipate. So what a lot of people don't realize is CO2 circulation is very important in a planted fish tank if you want evenly distributed CO2. So just looking around here, you can see very minusculely the plants are giving off their own oxygen. Now the fish already have a pretty decent oxygen supply from the oxygen bar, but it's also very beneficial that the plants are photosynthesizing enough to produce their own oxygen for the fish whenever I turn off or turn down the oxygen. Just like that. So, with that being said, the dirt and substrate, believe it or not, the topsoil is actually from my own backyard. Now, the way I had layered it is it kind of goes up in a layer, and then back behind here I have a mirror vinyl, so you can't really see, but it's reflective. But I have pebbles on the very bottom, topsoil / dirt substrate from my backyard, and then my secret to a good substrate nutrition is just Flourish tabs. I don't really dose as much Flourish Excel or Flourish Iron as much as I used to, but occasionally, I think you're supposed to do this once every 6 months. And this is not a sponsored video, this is actually what I use. It's just redosing them. So, with all that being said, here's my 25-gallon overhead sump, 7-layer sump, CO2 injected, heated, and circulated planted fish tank. This is one of my favorite tanks. Coming over here, I have my red-tailed shark tank, which is in dire need of a service. Let me turn on the light. You can see it right there. It's a chi tank. And then if you come over here, this is my kind of wasteland tank. I throw all my wisteria scraps in here, but if you can see right here, the wisteria actually roots itself. The roots will find their food and then feed the plant. And it's a pretty low to maintain plant. And then right here is my cave tetra tank. If you're unfamiliar with cave tetras, they're born with no eyes. Let me turn the slide off. And my Placo, my bristlenose Placo, is also kind of hiding right there. You can't really see him because he blends in well. But the main focus of this video is my 25-gallon planted tank, which I'm about to trim. It's pretty heavily overgrown, but I've always been a big fan of planted tanks and just how neon tetras look in planted tanks. Literally, these are the tuna of the small fish freshwater world. They love to school, they love to swim against the current. They just have all sorts of schooling and swimming fun when they're in groups. I've had problems with neon tetra disease and ick. I've also had ick. But once you dose the tank with a certain amount of Epsom salt, it will kill the ick off. Or if you have a heater, just crank it up to a certain amount of degrees and it'll kill it off. But dosing with Epsom salt actually really helped me. But with the neon tetra disease, I actually got really lost with it. I couldn't figure out what was killing them off, and then I realized it was neon tetra disease, and by then I was losing 1 or 2 neon tetras a day. So I had about 10 to 12 of them and lost almost all of them except for this big guy right here. I don't know if you can see him, but that is the last surviving cardinal tetra I have. I used to have about 12 to 18 of them, and then I just lost them all. They just slowly started dying day by day. And then once I got the neon tetras I just went to the local hobby store and bought about 2 dozen neon tetras and just said, you know, I'll push my luck. I really like these neon tetras. They're great fish and they school together really well and they complement the green of the plants. So after I got them, I took the odds and what do you know, it came out on top. I have 1 cardinal tetra left, and like I said, it's that big guy right there, and he's kind of the king of the tank. The fire/red neon oh, there's my algae eater back behind there. I don't know if you saw him that well. But the fire/red neon tetras, I only got 2 of them. They're a pair. They do really well together. You can see them both right here, and they're kind of a couple/mate. I don't really know what that's referred to as in the hobby, but they kind of stick together, and I really like that because they're a couple. They match. But the rest of the neon tetra are kind of like the gang of fish. You know, they kind of do their own thing. But that's my fish tank, guys. This is my second hobby next to my truck, so it's a very fun hobby, and it's just satisfying growing plants in a fish tank. It's really fun and addicting. So thank you guys for watching.